Hello YouTube, hello McChow, hello Red Pill. This is Red Pill in the wind. And I'm gonna call this lady for what she is. She's nothing more than a check collector. You know? She's nothing more than a check collector. She doesn't work for the medical field. She doesn't do any work for the medical field. She's nothing more than a check collector. If she's in the medical field, she's nothing more than a check collector. A paycheck collector. Let me tell you why this lady burns my bread. My dad was in a nursing home. Not because he didn't have anybody to take care of him. Because the people that wanted to take care of him were either in school, too young, either in school, and he literally told them to focus on their schooling. Literally told them focus on school, not me. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in a nursing home. His youngest was going through some problems himself. His oldest son was doing whatever he does. His brothers and sisters, I don't know what they were doing. They didn't come check in since my grandmother died. The only time they check in is in the funeral, when a tragedy happens. But when I found out that my dad was abused in a nursing home, the placement where I was at pretty much saved the nurses, saved all the medical staff's behinds. Let me give you an experience, an example of day-to-day life. Give you an example. My dad had to have one of his lungs deflated and have a tube inserted into his chest to drain his lungs. Because his lungs would develop fluid buildup. Okay. That's something that can be handled at the hospital or at a hospice or someplace. That was handled at home. That was handled at home. At home. Hey, let's go with a summer day. It took him about a year to recover. Let's start with the summer. Summertime. Go in, get up, take a shower. Wash your hands, remove the old bandages while inspecting them, making sure that they're not infected. Check the wound, make sure the wound's not infected, be careful not to aggravate the stitches holding the pipe, holding the tube that is basically attached to his lung, draining the fluid out of his lungs. Clean around the wound with an alcohol swab. Clean up any medical tape residue and anything that could potentially contaminate the wound, the suture, the stitches, or the incision that basically has a tube inside of going through his body to drain his lungs. Clean underneath the exit port of the tube that is inside his body, draining his lungs. His lung. Put a wet bandage or wet gauze, put a dry bandage or dry gauze underneath the tube, exiting the exit port of the tube inside his body, draining his lung. take a wet piece of gauze and pack it into the incision that is basically allowing the tube into his body, into his lung, to drain his lung. After that, you wrap it around. You basically just wrap it around carefully, gently. Meanwhile, this man is basically is in pain, grimacing in pain with no pain medication. With zero pain medication. He could feel every last bit of it. He can feel every last bit of it. Replace the gauze that you placed previous underneath that was underneath the exit port of the tube, draining his lungs. That is inserted to his body via sutures and incisions, and you replace it with the clean one. You replace it with about two clean ones, and then you take an OBD pad and tape the OBD pad over the incision, the suture, and the tube that is basically entering his body and to drain his lung. And all the while you're basically heating up. All the while you're heating up a Lysoderm patch to put on his body, so he doesn't feel so it doesn't hurt too bad. And you basically and you basically have him go to sleep. And you basically wait for him to go to sleep. You do what you can do around the house until it's time to change his bandages once more. So when this lady here sits up here and brags about and saying that, oh, I did my research. No, you did not. No, you did not. You didn't do any research. That is how you get people like me calling you out. Like I said, some memories and some experiences are more painful than others. Having to change your your own father's bandages because the nursing staff, because the nursing home abused them. Yeah. Lady, go fish. Some memories are a lot more painful than a lot of people would understand. That's how I learned that there are good nurses and there are trash nurses. And with this new generation of entitlement, I don't want nothing to do with it. I want none of it. These 18-year-olds, DNR. I will go at 40. I'm going DNR. I'm going do not resuscitate. I want nothing of it. I want nothing of it. Oh, technology. It's not the technology. It's the people. It's the people. It has nothing to do with the technology. It's the people. People like her. This lady right here. And she might be the more mild-mannered of them. The least treacherous of them. Nothing anybody says or does is going to get me to trust anybody in the medical. It is actively in the medical community with my body. Heck, Tico's in the medical community. I ain't let him cut me open to fix a heart problem. And that's my friend. Tico Trent Red Pill is in the medical fields. Is in the medical field. And I wouldn't let him cut me open or do anything or stitch me up. And that's my friend. You know? And that is my friend. No way. That's why at 40 I'm going for a DNR. Do not resuscitate. A friend of mine, Doc Holliday. I mean, even though he's been out the medical community, if he was still active, I still wouldn't let him touch me. I still wouldn't let him do anything, cut me open or any life-saving surgery. I wouldn't let none of those doctors touch me. Let me go. Let me go. You know, let me go. Do not resuscitate. Like I said, some memories are more painful than others. This lady just dredged up the waters. Dredged up the silt in the waters. And now you got problems. There's Red Pill in the Wind signing off.